Hi there, it's Gabrielle Nicolay from SpeechKids, where we teach little kids to talk and help parents understand their little kids. And today we're going to talk about disappointment. And disappointment, is one of these, another one of these negative emotions. And I'm putting that in air quotes, as you can tell, because there are emotions that are easier to feel and there are emotions that are harder to feel. But at the end of the day, everything is they're just feelings. And, but disappointment is one of these that comes up in the early years. And a little bit related to frustration, like we talked about last week, it is a result of wanting to do something that you end up not being able to do. So whether that's you're disappointed because you couldn't go to the park the way that you wanted to, or you weren't able to zip up your jacket in the way that you wanted to. And so in my mind, at least, disappointment and frustration are fairly closely linked. And you have kids though who they go naturally from being disappointed into being frustrated or angry. And then you have other kids who are, they trend more disappointment into sadness. And that's really based on like a temperamental difference. Depending on who your child is in the world, sort of how they're wired and what their personality is and what their temperament is, they're going to respond differently, at least at first, to this feeling of disappointment, which is, you wanted to do something and you couldn't do it. So here's the thing. When they were babies, first of all, they didn't feel frustration or disappointment because they were babies. And their range of experience was really limited to sensory experience. So if they were wet, we changed them. If they were uncomfortable and gassy, we burped them. Life is fairly easy. And you could put it easy in air quotes too, but babies are easy to take care of, and we know as parents that we're supposed to take care of them. They're not supposed to cry much. Now, babies cry, and sometimes we cry with them because we don't know what's going on. But when kids are babies, it's really easy to figure out sort of what's wrong. But here's the thing, as they grow and they change and they develop, they are getting more competence and more agency in the world. And so they're going to start having these experiences of wanting to do something that they can't do. And that's okay. That's life. That is typical. That is required for growth. And so even though our natural response, particularly if we've got a kid who's very reactive and just sort of falls apart when they get disappointed. It's so hard to watch, and we want to fix it right away, but we shouldn't, and we can't always. And so what are we supposed to do in that moment of disappointment? And you're going to hear me say this a lot in the next few videos. Label, label, label the feeling. Understanding that what you are feeling, what one is feeling, has a name that can be said out loud, and that it's not rare or bad or shameful or meant to be avoided. All of those things that we signal to our kids that we might feel about a negative emotion if we sort of minimize it and push it away and don't let them have their feelings. But when we label it calmly and let our child experience the full feeling, then they learn, guess what? After a while, the feeling goes away and you get a new feeling. So labeling that feeling it's like the most important thing. If you take nothing else away from these videos, trying to label how your child is feeling might be the most important learning experience they have in life. Because if you can label it and figure out what they're feeling, then they can start doing it later, and they will. And I'll tell you a story probably in the next video along those lines of when my children started using the language of emotion to describe how they were feeling, even when I didn't know what it was. So I hope you'll stay tuned for that, and I hope that you will think about how we respond to our kids when they're disappointed. I'd love to hear from you about what it is that you do or how it is that you feel when your kids are experiencing that disappointment that can feel really threatening and yet might actually lead them to greater resilience and greater happiness. Till next time, take care. Bye-bye.